With the first 8 races of the new Formula One season behind us, I think it's a good time to stop and really analyze how all the teams have done up to this point. I mean, there's still big upgrade packages to come, of course, the big technical directive. So I think up to this point, I'm going to analyze and see how each of the teams have done based on how they were projected to do and how I projected them to do, and if they've lived up to the hype or if they have met the hype or if they've greatly underachieved. So to rank these teams, I've really come up with a combination of different factors, but it really has boiled down to different upgrades, how they've been doing throughout the course of the year, how they've lived up to their hype, and also in terms of the constructors, how are they doing in the standings. In 10th place, I have Alpine, and I've already pretty much alluded to this in the introduction, but they are really just have no direction that they're going. Sauber may have been really bad last year and hasn't been that good this year, but at least they have a direction, it seems, under new team principal Jonathan Wheatley. So, yeah, in last place, I have Alpine, who have 7 constructors' points up to this point. They really haven't brought any meaningful packages into these races that have really altered the car performance all that much. And if they have, they at least haven't been working as well. Obviously, the highlight has been Gasly's ability to score points, but even the last race in Monaco, their cars just looked nowhere, and it just seems like Alpine doesn't have a really good direction they're going. Obviously, the whole team drama with Jack Doohan being dropped and Oliver Oaks stepping down really randomly, abruptly for reasons that not really many people know the true reasons, but it's just a whole mess over there in Alpine, and I really hope they get it fixed soon because it just is not looking great, man. Like they're ninth in the championship right now, but Sauber just keeps being more and more consistent. The Jonathan Wheatley effect has been felt already, and I just don't think it's going to look good for them for the rest of the year. I really do hope for Franco's confidence and his sake that Franco Colapinto does do well, but just the cards are not lining up for him or for Gasly this year. Next in ninth place, I have Sauber with Nico Hulkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto, and I just think that they have a much brighter future than Alpine, which is why I'm placing them higher, even though they are last in the Constructors' Championship with only the 6 points that Nico Hulkenberg scored in that crazy race of Australia. But I think they have been going in a more consistent direction, and compared to last year where they were always at the back of the grid, not knowing what to do, their pit stops were a disaster. They've been getting more and more consistent results out of their drivers. Bortoletto's looking great so far, and Nico Hulkenberg is trying to do his best to put that car closer to the points, and it really is looking much, much better for this team as a whole. And I think in 2026, they are obviously according to Mattia Binotto, they're not looking too great, but I think for this year they can still salvage maybe 8th, ninth in the Constructors' Championship. I think they'll definitely finish ahead of Alpine. They just look like their car has been getting upgraded almost every weekend. It looks just, even if it's little progress, it has just been getting better each and every week, and I really have high hopes for the rest of the year for the Kick Sauber team. Next, I have Aston Martin, and this is not at all reflecting really of what their car could turn into because this upgrade package that they brought in Imola has seemingly turned around the car. It's looking a lot more like the latter half of 2023 Alonso right now. Obviously, his engine keeps blowing up, so he continues to not be able to score points, but their car just looks a lot more consistent. It looks a lot better through these upgrade packages that have been brought, and I think they're on a good track. Obviously, I think it's the Adrian Newey effect finally touching that 2025 car, even though he's majority focused on 2026, but I think Aston Martin saw how bad they were and realized that maybe Adrian Newey needs to also touch the 2025 car, and it is very apparent so far. I think that Stroll has been, for some reason, a lot better than he usually is. Obviously, he's had his little Stroll moments, but I think Lance Stroll has really picked up the slack of Alonso these first few races, and obviously not all those DNFs are obviously not Alonso's fault. And I just think that Aston Martin looks great so far. I could see them maybe leapfrogging Haas, but it's going to be a maybe. I definitely see them finishing ahead of Alpine and Sauber. Obviously, their attention was always going to be focused on 2026 with the new Honda engine, and obviously Adrian Newey being able to fully work on that car. So yeah, I think Aston Martin is gonna in for a bounce back really for the next part of the season. But these first 8 races were just nothing really special until they brought that upgrade package in Imola. And next I have Haas. And Haas has really been to me an interesting team because there's some qualifyings where you see them absolutely nowhere. They're both at the back of the grid, and then for some reason, either Ocon or Behrman decide to have the recovery drive of their lives every other weekend and finish in to score points, which I think that's really the big thing I'd say that Haas needs to improve to be able to continue to keep sixth place in the standings is really their consistency. They are probably the most bipolar team on the grid right now. They'll have incredible race pace some days. Behrman will look fantastic, and then other days they'll both be at the back of the grid qualifying 19th and 20th. So I think that's really the main goal that Haas should have here in these next races is to become more consistent. In Monaco, of course, Esteban had a great race. Ollie pretty much got screwed over by that BS penalty from the red flag. So I think overall they're looking good. They need to really focus on becoming more consistent, especially with Racing Bulls coming up right behind them. Hajar's looked great. And I just think that Ocon and Behrman really need to be more consistent if this team is going to keep sixth in the championship. But overall, great start to the year for Haas. I really liked what Ayo Komatsu has done so far with this team in his first 2 years as team principal, replacing Gunter Steiner. So I really like the direction that Haas is going, and I think it's going to continue if they can get more consistent throughout the weekend. Next in sixth, I have Ferrari. And yes, I have Ferrari this low, even though they're fourth in the championship. Man, why did they have to change the 2024 car? I mean, they looked great. Everybody was so hyped up. Carlos and Charles were doing amazing. They were competing for the constructors until the last race. And now we look to 2025. Everybody's expecting them to have a big year. It's Lewis's first year at Ferrari, and they're nowhere. They're absolutely nowhere, and they're really just in fourth place on pure Charles Leclerc merit and Lewis winning one sprint race. And they've looked better there these last few races, but I mean Imola was atrocious. I mean qualifying 11th and 12th in front of the Tifosi is awful. I mean, and sure they had a good race to recover it, but there was a bit of chaos in Imola that really allowed that to happen and differing strategies. But overall, with the exception of some Charles Leclerc heroics, they have been nowhere some weekends, and it just really needs to improve if they're gonna turn the season around. We'll see how the technical directives really affect Ferrari. Fred Vasseur seems to think that they're in for a nice surprise once the technical directives set in. So we'll see if that's really the case. But I mean, overall, this has just not been a great season for Ferrari, and it really just needs to turn around. And I believe that Fred is the guy to do it, but he's making me and a lot of other people lose confidence in the fact that Ferrari can compete for the championship this year, if they even still have a chance at all. I mean, McLaren is just so far ahead, and they really are going to need a huge rebound from all of them. But for now, I mean, if everything stays its course, I think you just have to focus on 2026 if you're a Ferrari fan, and hope that y'all don't screw that one up either. Next in fifth place, I have Racing Bulls, and wow, I mean, I, along with many other people, did not expect Hadjar to do this good right away, and he has really just taken that crash in the formation lap in Australia and put it in the rearview mirror. He has been extra consistent for Racing Bulls. It's a regular to see him in Q3, and his pace has just been phenomenal, and just a really hats off to him for rebounding that way. A crash on the formation lap in your very first race can be a very defining moment in people's careers, and he really just has not let that define him, and hats off to him once again. And Lawson, I mean, Lawson, it really puzzles me because he has looked good some weekends. He's also had some weekends where unfortunate timing of red flags or yellow flags has really kind of screwed over his qualifying. But other than Monaco, it really hasn't been that great of a year from him. I mean, obviously he got dropped from Red Bull. That shakes your confidence, but it hasn't been that great of a year for him. Racing Bulls would not be where they are without Isaac Hadjar, but if there's any place you're going to show that you're able to rebound, it's Monaco, and Lawson really did that. He really played the team game to perfection in Monaco, allowing them both to score points. Lawson's first points of the year, actually. So I think that hopefully this form can continue from Liam Lawson, and I think that he is a good racing driver at the end of the day. But it really is just gonna come down to, if he can't perform this year, Arvid Lindblad is right there waiting for Red Bull. So the pressure's on for Liam, and Hadjar, hats off to you. I really hope they don't ruin your career by sending you to Red Bull and sending Yuki Tsunoda back down. So yeah, I mean, Racing Bulls, great start to the year so far. So next I have the Max Verstappen F1 team, or Red Bull Racing. Obviously, a lot of you know why I called it the Max Verstappen F1 team. I think he has all but 1 point for their constructors total, so that may as well be a one-man team. What I'm basically seeing so far in these races is that the car obviously has an error operating window. Max has overcome that. It's gotten better. The upgrades, for example, Imola, the upgrades brought there have made the operating window a lot more manageable, but the only way that Red Bull can really save this Constructors' Championship is by cloning Max Verstappen, and that just won't happen. So until Yuki Tsunoda can figure out his problems with the RB21, I don't really see a Constructors' title in the works for Red Bull, and I think they have pretty much already accepted that, seeing as how Yuki, the only reason he has that point was a chaotic race in Imola that had him start from the pit lane, which, granted, it was a great drive, but they really have a lot of more internal issues to get figured out, especially with Max's contract coming to an end in 2026. He obviously has not voiced a lot of confidence recently. I guess he has in a way, but not over the course of the season. And it's really something that Red Bull needs to get right. 2026 needs to be that year that Red Bull, with their new powertrains that they're designing themselves in conjunction with Ford, those really need to hit the ground running, along with their any sort of aerodynamics that they have planned for this next 2026 car. They really need to hit the ground running with these next regulations if Verstappen is going to stay a member of Red Bull Racing. If not, good luck for the future Red Bull fans, because it's going to be quite a bumpy ride without Max Verstappen. And now we get to the top three, and in third I have Williams. And man, oh man, has James Vowles really revived this team. A team that was pretty much nowhere for the first part of these regulations has really just the trajectory altogether of Williams has really been changed by James Vowles. I like his new mentality of that every opportunity is a learning opportunity, and it really shows with how they've been able to nail this year, even if it wasn't their focus to nail this year. I think Albon and Sainz have been great. Sainz has shown that he's definitely adapted to the car. He's making Q3 consistently now. Alex Albon has really beaten those bad teammate allegations quite firmly, actually. He's outperformed Sainz a good chunk of the first 8 weekends, and it's really showing how both of them are really getting to grips with the car. The team is fully behind them, and this just should serve as an example for other teams on the grid that even if you were in last place a few years beforehand, like, you can still rebound in a big way if you have the right people around the team and the right support system around your drivers that give them the confidence to be able to extract the most out of the car. And Williams is just a great example of that. I'm excited to see how they do for the rest of this year. I really hope that they can get a podium. They've been quite close, and I think that car is definitely capable of doing it, and they've already shown that they are the leaders of the midfield this year. They've even knocked some of the top runners out a few times from qualifying. So I think overall just a fantastic year for Williams, and I can't wait to see what James Vowles does in 2026 with the supposed Mercedes engine advantage. I could see Williams being very competitive in these new regulations. In second, I have Mercedes-Benz, and honestly, Mercedes is kind of in second place because they've just been the most consistent out of the front runners, obviously with the exception of McLaren, but they've really just had solid weekends altogether. I mean, the car looks competitive. Some weekends it's close to McLaren, other weekends it's a little bit further back, but I think their real main model so far this year has been consistency. That's evidenced by George Russell basically being in the top 5. Any shenanigans happen and George Russell's on the podium for Mercedes. And Kimi Antonelli has had a few bumps, obviously, which was expected for him as a very young rookie, but he has obviously shown that the pace is there. The future is really bright for Kimi Antonelli. I mean, he already has one of the youngest, I think the youngest pole sitter actually, in a racing format for Formula One, which is obscene. I mean, that lap that he had in Miami was excellent, and it just shows that when he gets at all the sectors correctly in any qualifying session, he is very competitive. I will say recently in Monaco, they obviously had an atrocious weekend, but that was due to a lot of different factors. I mean, George's car blew up. If not, I think he'd be firmly in the top 5, but their strategy just wasn't that great that weekend. But I think that they just need to keep supporting their drivers the way they have. I think Peter Boddington and Toto Wolff have really been super supportive of Kimi Antonelli, which has really led to him being able to feel comfortable in the car. And I think his main thing is that Kimi needs to get into grips with the new soft C6 compound, which is what he's really been struggling with, especially with Canada coming up soon, and that has the C6 compound. So I think overall just a really solid year for Mercedes, with the exception of Monaco. They haven't really had a horrible weekend. They've been consistent, and that's all really you can ask for from Mercedes right now. Obviously, this was going to be a different year without Lewis, and I think they just really embraced the fact, and they really supported both of their drivers, and I think they have been the model of consistency other than McLaren for the grid. In first, obviously, I have McLaren. McLaren have just been on another level recently. They've basically been on the podium every race. Actually, they have been on the podium every race, at least one of their drivers, and it's just great to see how consistent they have been from 2023 when they were at the back of the grid to now is just an amazing turnaround. Andrea Stella and Zach Brown have really done a great job with that team, and I think they have shown so far this year that they've learned from some of the mistakes. They're not messing around with any of this team order shenanigans stuff. I think they are prioritizing the constructors, which is what they should do, and also Zach Brown has said that they have two number one drivers, and so until one is basically eliminated from the championship, they are not going to start prioritizing one over the other, which I think is exactly the way you're supposed to do it. It's similar to how Mercedes went about it when Rosberg and Hamilton were basically just fighting each other for the championship and the rest of the grid was behind. This feels very similar. And I think it sets us F1 fans up for an amazing championship fight at the front. And obviously, I think since the beginning of the year, when they were winning all these races, I think everybody sensed that McLaren basically have the Constructors' Championship in the bag. And just good job for them. Back-to-back is not easy to do. And it just looks like they're on an amazing trajectory for the rest of this year, and it looks like we're in for another amazing championship fight between teammates, which is always really fun to watch. And don't forget Max. Max is in there too, but I think that, wow, has McLaren really just shown what it takes to be the top team and how you have to go through these periods of inconsistencies and of bad performances to be able to get to the top. And it's just great for somebody like Lando Norris, who has been at the team for a while now, to really be able to now achieve this success with McLaren. It's just great to see. And Oscar has really turned up his game in a big way from last year, and all around, just hats off to McLaren. They really have the best car on the grid by a good bit, and it just shows really with the results.
So those are really my opinions on how each of the 10 teams have done throughout these first 8 races. It'd be interesting to hear y'all's thoughts. Please let me know in the comments how you guys would change this list up, or if this list would be entirely different from your perspective. And if you enjoyed this video, hitting that subscribe button and the like button would help me out a lot. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and looking forward to the rest of the F1 season.